Good morning, everyone. Well, it's October, so it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So what are we talking about? Saving the boobies, right? Well, breasts have traditionally had a ton of nicknames. Pillows, melons, cans, call them whatever you like. These ladies, they call them knockers and they knit them. What? What are knitted knockers? First of all, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. Tell us your story, first of all, and how we got to knitted knockers.
Well, just to put everybody at ease, knitted knockers are breast prosthetics for women who have had a mastectomy, and they're made by volunteer knitters, and we give them away free. Okay?
That is the baseline of all this.
That's the description of what they are.
But Barbara, how did you get involved in this?
Yeah, it was 6 years ago when I heard the words that no woman wants to hear, that I had breast cancer. And I needed to have a mastectomy, and I thought, you know what, it's going to be okay, because I could be immediately reconstructed, and due to complications that didn't happen, and so I had to go through the mastectomy and not be reconstructed, and then I was faced with, what am I going to do? And as I was sitting in the doctor's office, I picked up a brochure for breast prosthetics, and he said, you know, many women are not satisfied with the traditional breast prosthetics because they can be hot and heavy and sticky.
And let's show one right now. This is a traditional breast prosthetic. It is not a gigantic chicken breast.
Oh, they've been called that.
It feels like it. It feels like a chicken cutlet. I'm not going to lie. It's heavy. It is sticky, I guess, so it can stick on the skin. But you said, I don't want this.
Well, and no, actually it was the doctor telling me this. He said that many women are not satisfied with them because they can be hot and heavy and sticky, and they require a special prosthetic bra, and they're very expensive. And insurance can cover it for some people, but he said, I looked at him and I said, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And he said, do you knit?
The doctor says
My
that.
man doctor, breast surgeon, says, do you knit? And I was stunned, and I said, well, yeah, why? And he said, well, I've never seen one, but I've heard there's such a thing as a knitted knocker. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds interesting. So I went home, and I called my dear friend Phyllis, and I said, Phyllis, have you ever heard of a knitted knocker? She's an expert knitter. And even though I was a casual knitter, I wasn't in any shape to make my own at that point. And so
complex.
Well, not so much when you get into it. But Phyllis said, I've never heard of them, but I'll check it out. So it was a week later when I ventured out into public for the first time. I went to church, and I put a sock in my bra, and I put a loose-fitting jacket on, and I was really self-conscious. And I went to church, and I got to tell you, for me, hearing the voice on the other end of the line when I called a support group to find out what I could use for a prosthetic before I'd gone into the doctor was the low point for me. It's the first time I cried through the whole thing. Just when she said, oh, honey, I am so sorry, but you can't put anything on that scar for at least 6 weeks. It was like devastating to me because I wanted to get back to work. I wanted to get back to life, and I wanted to appear normal. So anyway, fast forward to that first outing to church, and with my loose-fitting jacket, and I was very self-conscious, and in comes Phyllis carrying a Victoria's Secret bag. And she hands it to my husband, and she says, here, Denny, give this to Barb, and don't look in the bag. So he found me, and he gave it to me. Well, I knew right away what was in it. And so I went into the bathroom, and I took out the most beautiful, soft, knitted knocker. It was light, it was beautiful, it was huggable. It was made by somebody who cared. I went into the bathroom stall, pulled out that sock, plopped this in, and it literally changed my life. I know it sounds dramatic, but for me, I took off that loose-fitting jacket, and I went out and I re-engaged with life. So I knew right then
that this was your mission.
That we needed to provide these to our doctor's office. So when women are in there trying to decide, what am I going to do? They can go in and they can have them there ready to pick out, and they can choose. Maybe they want this bright one, or maybe they want
this super fashionable one. Hey, sometimes you're feeling that.
You know what's going to happen now? People are going to say, "I want one of these." Yeah, nope, sorry. We provide all sizes, A, B, C, D, double D,
yes, you do. I'm looking
and
at
colors,
some of the sizes now, which is great because all women are different and we all like different things.
Well, let me tell you. But
I wanted to ask you real quick before we get any further. Let's talk about, because I think a lot of people may not understand. Hey, you saved your life. What does it matter if you have breasts or not? But as a woman, it really does. Let's talk about that, like what it means for someone you've always had this, to not have it, to take it away.
Well, yeah, I can speak for myself. I was not prepared for the emotional impact of mastectomy. You know, you meet with your doctors, you hear about the physical stuff, the choices, the decisions you have to make, the treatment and such. I was truly not prepared. When my doctor was taking off the bandages for the first time in the hospital, he said to me, many women aren't prepared to look yet. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. What do you mean? They're not prepared to look. How awful is it? And so I took his word at it. I did not look. And so later, though, I did look. And it was a difficult time. Now, like I say, I'm speaking for myself, but also we are giving away many times 1,000 a month of these to women that are requesting them. And as part of that, they tell us their stories because they know we understand. Yeah. So when they request their knitted knockers, they'll tell us, oh my gosh, I've struggled so much with the pain of the scarring and the issues and my femininity. And we hear we get requests from husbands for their wives, and they'll say things like, I'm hoping this will help her feel as beautiful as she still is to me.
Oh, I can't. Oh, that is beautiful.
And so we hear this hundreds of times, don't we, Crystal?
Oh, yes, hundreds of times.
It just is amazing. And then we hear from people when they're requesting their knockers that say, you know, it's been 20 years and I don't go out anymore because I just can't tolerate the weight against my scars, or I have lymphedema and stuff. This has changed my life because now I can wear this in my regular bra. It doesn't require a prosthetic bra, and it's light. And you know what? You can swim in these. So people go and they work out with them instead of bouncing with this. We throw them in the wash machine and let them air dry.
This is brilliant.
It's like, well, duh.
So who came up with this? But what have you done? You've kind of created knitted knockers and made it not just across Washington, but global, really.
Yeah, I did not invent knitted knockers, obviously, because my doctor had heard of them.
It, yeah.
And the person that named them was a woman from Maine, and she had had a mastectomy, and she owned a yarn shop. And so she started making these, and she had a knitting group that in her shop, and she said, we need to name these. And so she came up with the name Knitted Knockers. But when I went to look on that website, the pattern was posted, but it was defunct.
Ah, it was defunct.
Yes, and so I had to do some sleuthing, and I tracked her down, and I said, these are great. I'd love to help you provide these to doctor's office. And she said that unfortunately she wasn't in the yarn business anymore.
Down so we can get so she said she wasn't in the yarn business anymore.
Yeah, and she said it breaks my heart that we can't give these out because they're so great. And I said, would you mind if I take the ball and run with it? And she said, you go for it. And so that was 6 years ago.
Oh my gosh, and you've been doing this. I'm going to show you some of these comments because I think it's pretty awesome. You know, Emma saying you're amazing. Karen saying this is very, very cool. Yvonne saying this is great that you're profiling this group. Man, we're just so happy that they're here. Jace says, my friend Haley helps with knitted knockers from time to time. And that's kind of the big question right now is that we've got Crystal over here knitting. How hard is it for someone who's already a knitter to jump in and help knit a knocker?
Well, we have tried to make it easy for people because with 50,000 mastectomies done a year, and 90% of those women may wear a breast prosthetic at least for a while they're waiting reconstruction or going through treatment, or they may choose it to not be reconstructed for various reasons. The demand is huge. And so I realized early on that the demand is huge, but how do we meet that demand? And so it was critical, I thought, to inspire and equip people to make these for their own communities because no one group could do it. So at knittedknockers.org, we posted the patterns. They can be downloaded free, and they've been downloaded over 600,000 times now.
Wow.
And somebody out there is saying, do you have a crochet pattern? And yes, we do. We have video tutorials on how to make great knitted knockers and crocheted ones, as well as a lot of other ones, starring me as the comedy sidekick and the experts really showing how to do it.
And you're the expert, Crystal.
Well, in the videos, it's Laureen,
Uh-huh.
and she is an expert knitter. She's our quality control gal.
Oh.
She opens all the packages that come with the knockers and inspects them all and passes them on. And we have a group of, if there's a little problem, let's say someone had requested a nipple and the nipple's too large, then it goes to the nipple fixers.
Yes.
There are nipple fixers.
We
There are
have
nipple fixers.
highly trained professionals, I must say.
And
We're all volunteered, don't get me wrong.
Right. Professional volunteers. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, and so if people go to the website, they would probably really enjoy the journey of a knocker, which tells the whole story of what happens when we receive the unstuffed knocker to when we ship the knocker out to the person who has requested it. It's a wonderful, wonderful video.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So this is what a knocker looks like unstuffed, and you're working on it right now.
Right.
And do they all have this little hole in them here?
Yes, you're very observant. We send out the knockers overstuffed. Here, I'll let you hold that. I can grab another one. Overstuffed because some women are concave after their surgery and need more volume than others.
Okay.
And we overstuff them so they're slightly rounded, but we leave them open so women can remove stuffing as needed.
Gotcha.
Or add as needed, and then they can be cinched up, but we encourage people to leave them loose. I wore my knitted knocker for 3 years, the same one. Threw it in the wash machine, pulled it out, plopped it back in, and I'm now reconstructed. But, for 3 years, this was just a lifesaver to me.
Now, I have to tell you, Kirsten Nelson Smith said she owns 2.5 pairs. She loves them. Of course, I had to give one of my Seahawk colored ones to my friend who moved away. And I thought, here's somebody who loves them, has several now, and is talking about the Seahawks. So let's talk about, can you hand me one of those knockers? Hawk knockers. Hey, there you go.
Yeah. One with
This
a
one
nipple
even has a
and
little 12 on it.
Oh yes,
I love
that's the piercing you never had the nerve to have.
Right? How perfect. Now, obviously, huge Hawk fans, blue and green in our bloods, but not only that, but you guys have a very special connection to the organization now, correct?
Yes. A year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, we were selected by the Seattle Seahawks as their charity of the month for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It was just thrilling. I mean, how does that happen? They're such a great giving organization. So in honor of that, we knit up a bunch of Seahawk knockers, and we were invited to be at the game, and at the pregame, what do they call that? Oh, shoot, I'm having a brain fade.
No.
Anyway, there's an event before it where the public can attend. So we had a table and a display, and we had a whole basket full of knitted knockers and people came and said, I could use a knitted knocker. And so we handed them out. We packaged them up pretty, and we have some pictures on our Facebook site
I love it.
that. But we joked that these women had the most unique Hawks attire of anybody there. You just didn't know it. They're inside those bras.
And not only that, keeping the colors close to their heart.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Yes.
Speaking of hearts, there's a...
Oh, I love that.
People knit a lot of love and care in here. And one thing that I would hate to miss out on telling people is the caring factor that goes into these is so important. one of the things, we knew we were providing a physical thing for people. What we didn't realize is the emotional side of it. Not only the recipient knowing that somebody's receiving these for no personal gain at all, but those of us that are making them, we have that sense of we're making a difference. And we have a passion and purpose that we can use for our time and talents. And so I like, I've asked, could you manufacture these? Because with the demand being so huge. And the answer is yes, we could manufacture them and sell them cheap. But it's about more than that. It's about that caring factor. And many people knit a lot of care and love in this, and when they're sent out, many people will send a little card with it saying that I'm wishing you the best, or praying for you, or thanking thinking of them and such. We have 190, how many groups do we have, state supplier groups now?
We have 199.
199
with 4 more coming on board this week.
Groups?
That are
knitting groups?
Oh, we have a lot more than that, but those are what we call state suppliers. So we have people that if an order comes into knittedknockers.org from a state such as California, where we have state suppliers, we don't send those out. They do. People that are knitting in California, once again, kind of achieving that goal that I wanted to provide for their own communities.
Yes.
And we also have 450 medical clinics that we provide for and we support. And so many of those groups are knitting directly for those clinics around the country. And we provide brochures.
I was going to say, we're looking at some photos right now on Facebook of just kind of you guys out in the community, and I see you at a walk. When people, do you attend the cancer walks, or when you're there, people ever contact you and go, I never even heard of this?
All the time.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've been very intentional about, is getting the word out. And one of the ways is to go to the Relay for Life events, the Walk for the Cure events, and we never say no to a request for the opportunity to spread the word, because we reach 2 target groups. Like today, we're reaching women that have never heard of this and go, oh my gosh, how do I get them? Go to knittedknockers.org and order them free. Or I knit or crochet, how can I help? Go to knittedknockers.org. There's my shameless plug.
You shameless plug all you want. I am okay with that, Barb. Mary Wood says, with a lot of hearts, I was given one. Thank you. Like, it really does bring me so close to tears, because I think the one thing that's so incredible about it is the women helping women, too.
It is.
I mean, I'm sure maybe you have some male knitters, too.
We do.
If you knit in your male, go ahead. But, I mean, I really think that that's the thing, is that you saw something that affected you, and you said, I want to help. I want to help others. And that's huge.
It brings, we all need to have purpose to our lives. And I like to share the story of Anne. We have a group of about 26 women that meet every week at our local yarn shop to gather up these knockers and, as Crystal said, make sure they're in good shape, fix the nipples or repair them as needed, process them, get them ready to go stuff, and send them out. Well, we have a lot of fun. We're sitting around just laughing and joking and doing their stuff, literally. And one time Anne came, and Anne's an elderly woman, and she quietly came in and sat down and started to crochet. She didn't say a word the whole time. And as we were breaking up and leaving, I followed her out to the car and I said, Anne, I just want to thank you so much for coming. Really, really appreciate it. And she looked up at me and she said, I lost my husband a couple years ago, and she says, I've been grieving terrible ever since. She said that nothing has helped. I've gone to support groups, counseling, all kinds of things. She says, nothing has helped like this has, knowing that I can still make a difference in somebody else's life. And so that, once again, is an illustration of the two sides of what we're doing, and it's just struck a chord. And we have thousands of knitters. We're in 16 countries now. We went to Rwanda a year ago in October and trained 30 women to make knitted knockers for their own country. And that I could go on and on. The impact that this has had.
You've really developed something that kind of can be self-sufficient in any community, which I think is the most important. I think actually, going beyond knit knockers to any organization that really wants to have outreach, I mean, you've given people the tools they need to take this and run with it.
That's exactly right. I use the words inspire and equip. Anything that we can do to inspire and equip people to provide to their own communities, we want to do that. And we have a great fun time doing it. And the people that are involved, it just thrills me no end to see the giving community out there. People want to give. They want to help. You just need to equip them. Make it easy for them. Make it a way that they can do it. Not everybody can print off these brochures, but they can knit these. Yeah. They may not know what to do with them when they're done with them, but we do. So they can knit them, do what they do well, send them to us, and we take it from there.
Love it. I see you have this box over here. I don't know. What is this? This looks like a very special knitted knocker.
Thank you for bringing this up. Don't know where to show this. This is an extremely special knitted knocker. We're all volunteers. Nobody gets a paycheck. And our postage runs $3,000 to $5,000 a month because you don't send out 1,000 knockers a month without expenses. And so we did a little fundraiser. We went to this knitting event where there's it's called Stitches, and there's 11,000 people that go to these events over a weekend, and we were reaching out to knitters. But as part of it, we did a fundraiser, and we asked famous designers of knitwear to create these designer knockers. Well, and then we auctioned them off on eBay. This particular knocker got the highest price, $550, and that money went to us, and it went to a woman in Texas. And when we mailed it to her, she called me up and she said, "Thank you for the beautiful knitted knocker." She said, "I'm going to love on it for a month, and then I'm going to send it back because it's got a higher calling." And the reason this particular knocker had a higher calling, she said, "I want you to show it everywhere you go," is her inspiration. This is Myra Wood, by the way, very wonderful teacher and designer. She named the design My Left Tit. The inspiration and dedication was, "I got the yarn for this great cause and started to cast on right before my diagnosis." She was diagnosed with breast cancer. Halfway through, the news came in, and my knocker took on a whole new meaning. It needed to be complicated and beautiful and busy. And so this woman that bought this off of eBay said, "I would have gone all the way. My mom said, I'll even help you if you need more money to get it." And then she donated it back to us. So anyway, that's the story.
I don't know if you guys can see this really. I mean, it is so beautifully knitted, and there's detail and beading, and I'm not good at describing knit things, but I mean, it's so gorgeous. And the fact that and this is just, I mean, it's gorgeous. It's a great example of what you've inspired.
Well, I have a funny story. Since we're talking about unique knockers, this is obviously not meant to be worn.
Right.
Okay, see this hairy knocker?
That's a hairy knocker.
That is a hairy knocker. Yes, please do.
I'm holding her hairy knocker. It's also a Christmas knocker.
It is. Okay, yeah, we do themed. But Phyllis, the one who made my first knitted knocker for me, when we first started, we had Phyllis and a few little local knitters knitting for our local doctor's office. And so we found really early on that most women request these neutral colors, the beiges, and we have dark brown, and we have, and then the bright ones. But most women prefer that. So Phyllis is knitting away, and she would drop off bags of them to me. She's up over 600 now, I think she's made. But anyway, early on, she dropped in the bag a hairy knocker. Now, it was not this knocker. It was purple with green hair and orange specks in it. And it was a huge knocker. I mean, it was a big knocker. And so I thought, oh my gosh, Phyllis, Nobody's going to want
gonna
that
do with
hairy
this?
knocker. What am I going to do with that? I cannot use that to send out to anybody. So I put it in the basket that went to the doctor's office, and I thought, well, maybe somebody will choose it. And it wasn't any time at all. And I got this email from a woman in Blaine, Washington, and she said, I just wanted to thank you for my knitted knockers. She said, I was in at my doctor's office, and I was all depressed and dejected, wondering what I was going to do. And she said, I looked through that, the doctor brought out a bag of knitted knockers. And she said, I looked through that bag, and there was one jewel that shone brighter than the rest. It was purple with green hair and orange specks. And she said, it made me smile at a really difficult time. And then she said, and my friends just marvel at the beauty of it when I whip it out and show it to them. So this is, if anybody's out there wanting to order them, we don't have these. And if any of you are knitting them, don't knit hairy knockers. I think it's kind of unique.
Don't knit hairy knockers. Maybe stick with the neutral tones, and they're absolutely beautiful. You know.
Thank you.
So not all of us can knit. I told you,
Yeah.
I tried knitting earlier in my 20s. It didn't really work out. You both learned from your grandmothers?
I learned from my mother.
From your mother?
I did too, from my mother.
From your mothers?
Yeah.
So how can people help if they can't knit?
Thank you for
surely
asking that.
I can help.
Yes. Yes, there's 3 ways I like to share that people can help. And one is if you can knit or crochet, which we haven't even shown a crochet knocker. For those crocheters, they're probably going, show me one.
Okay, there's a crochet. I'll hold a crochet
Yeah.
knocker too.
Yeah.
We got a pair of crocheted knockers here.
Yes, and then the knit. If you can knit or crochet, go to knittedknockers.org, register with us, and we'll get you started with the approved yarns and everything you need to know, more than you need to know.
Okay.
To make knockers. The second way is share on social media. Which you're watching this on right now. Help spread the word, because you know somebody, or you may not know somebody that's gone through this, but when they see your Facebook post, they go, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I could either help make them or I could use them. And the third way is donate. We are all volunteer, no paychecks, and we are a 501c3, so we can accept donations, and we survive by the generosity of people out there. So that's typically the way that we share that people can help.
That is, we can all do something, and it really can change a woman's life.
Well, in like our local group, which there are groups like this all over the country, we have a directory with over 400 groups listed on that directory by state. We have people that come every week and they just stuff knockers. Or
I can do that. I could stuff
Right.
knockers all day.
And we write
Exactly.
thank you
I'll
notes.
stuff them.
We write thank you notes to people for sending them to us. We appreciate it very much. So we handwrite our little thank you notes, and that tells people, yes, they got them and they still need them. It keeps it going.
Yeah.
So people do that for us, and yeah.
So many ways to help, because
There
you're
are.
helping so many others.
Yeah.
I love this. They're so soft. They really are amazing. And you know what? I love that she's going to show the biggest knocker I've ever seen.
I forgot to show this when we were talking about the Seahawks. That is the Hawks knocker.
That is a hawk knocker right there.
And we were at a knitting show, and we had this displayed. This was part of the same event.
Yes.
There was and so we were at an event, and this guy comes up and he says, well, you were there, you tell the story.
He said, well, I love that pillow. How much do I have to pay to get that pillow? And I was trying to explain to him, it's not a pillow. It is underneath our large display of designer knitted knockers. He said, okay. Next day he brings another guy by and says, look at that pillow. And I went, oh yeah, it's the pillow. It's a knitted knocker. It's just a large, very large knitted knocker. And talked about the Seahawks and that. And he went, well, couldn't I buy it? I need it as a pillow. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but it's hard to display. But it was just, he was so infatuated with this and the cause.
And the cause, well, and next time, we could just tell them, they have been called pillows.
Yes.
Right.
But these are pillows of a different sort.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because that was in Ohio, wasn't it? It wasn't
was in
even
Ohio.
in Hawks area. But we did a fundraiser with these that was a little different than the auction off, and we had a People's Choice where you could vote by your favorite, and This got 0 votes because we were in Dallas Cowboy territory. And I was like, Chuck, it's a man that knit this.
Yes.
Chuck.
A man knit this.
Yes.
Chuck knit this.
He's with Cassell Yarn Company out of Seattle. And so anyway, I said, Chuck, I'm so sorry you got 0 People's Choice Awards because we were in Dallas.
He understood, but you know what? Amazing.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you both for being here with us today and explaining what you do. And for so many of us, we're hearing about this for the very first time. If anybody wants more information, they can go to knittedknockers.org. Again,
Thank you.
Like you said, 501c3. You rely on the kindness of strangers, but strangers are family and friends when it comes to helping each other, which is so important. So I hope that people contact you, and I'm just going to go ahead and do something that I know everybody who's been watching wants to do. I'm giving you ladies big old hugs because I have to say thank you so much for coming, for everything that you do. And just like I said, go to knittedknockers.org. Don't be shy. Help some ladies get themselves a knocker of their own.
Some comfort and dignity.
Some comfort and dignity.
Right. Yes.
All right. Have yourself a